All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Be a Warrior podcast. I'm Angie, and I'm so grateful that you are here today. All right. I am trying something this week. I have decided to try to shorten my podcasts. I am a talker, and I know that most of you can't get through the first 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm going to try to knock it down to 20 to 25 minutes. I promise I'm trying. It's hard because I love just talking. And sometimes when I'm home alone, this is the best way to get through feeling alone. So, all right. So we are now 2 weeks before I'm in Boston for my surgery. I'm excited. I'm feeling at peace with the decision. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that is for my vlog. One Leg is Enough here on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. But you can definitely follow me there and you'll follow my journey. I will be doing updates, especially as I get really close to the travel time. And then I'll take you through the pre-surgery, surgery, post-surgery, and healing, and the things that are going on with me as we progress through it. Right now, it's kind of boring. I have to say my back does feel better today, so that's good. But that was the last big update, was that I couldn't do anything because my back was hurting. Today on our podcast, what I really want to talk about is something that I grabbed this week from, again, a social media post, but it is also something that has been drawn to my attention for the last several years by other amputees, especially women. And it makes me sad, but I am going to be on both sides of the coin on this one because I think it's important to be understanding of both sides. I labeled this podcast Walk the Line, and it is a fine line that you walk, no pun intended, I promise, but it's a fine line we walk between our friendships and our hardships. And what I mean by that is I have noticed a lot of people tell me, did anybody else lose their good friends once they became an amputee? And at first it kind of struck me funny because I didn't change. I mean, yeah, I physically am different, but I don't think my outlook ever changed about life. I always want to be the person that's there for my friends. I want to make sure that because I chose to amputate, I deal with a lot of things internally. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. And I have my family here to support me if I need to, talk about it. But I still do the things I want to do with my friends. I still give the way I want to give. I still do acts of love and kindness. I love cooking for people, so I still do that. I mean, pretty much nothing about me has changed, and I'm grateful for that. But I think there is this fine line that we all hit. Number one, if people can just understand the fact that becoming an amputee is more than the moment we become an amputee. It is a whole new way of life. And it is extremely different than what most of you actually deal with. And it is something that never goes away. It is a medical condition that will never change or never go away. As a matter of fact, the only change that might happen is it might get worse. Phantom pains might become unbearable. And the worst part is they become unbearable at the weirdest times. I know people that have gone 20 years as an amputee and never really experienced a massive episode. And then one day they're hit with it really hard and have asked me, is that what you were talking about when you went through that? I'm like, yeah. And I've been going through it since I became an amputee, but it's not all the time. I probably only had 3 or 4 big episodes in 6 years. And when I say big episodes, that means that maybe it's really, really intense pain that will not rest or let up for like 3-4 days. And then it's over. And then I don't have another one for a long time. Phantom sensations, I have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's always there. And at first it was extremely, what's the word I'm looking for? Claustrophobic is the way I felt. I can't escape the burning or the itching or the stinging or the sharp pains. I can't get away from it. And when you can't get yourself away from something like that, it feels very claustrophobic. It's confining and can cause anxiety if you don't know how to release that. But that is every day. And at first I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. And then I realized, you know what? It's not giving up. This is probably what life is going to be like. So it's time to stop wrestling with it and embrace it for what it is and find the bright side and find other things to deal with versus thinking about it. Here's where the problem comes in. The fact is when we become an amputee, we're amputees for life. We deal with all the fitting issues, we deal with skin issues, we deal with possible late in the game infections. I've seen people 4 or 5 years out all of a sudden have an infection in their bone that's just kind of been sitting there and waiting to rear its ugly head. Some people have to go and do revisions. Some people go from B case up to A case because of complications after a couple of years or not even. And then the phantom pains, like I said, it doesn't change for us. It only just morphs into other things. And therefore, we talk about it a lot. It is just our way of dealing with it and addressing it. Not always bad things, but of course, when we're stuck and we don't know what to do and we're confined to being in pain or struggling with healing, we will sit there and we'll cry about it. We'll be angry about it. We'll vent on the people around us, and sometimes mistakenly take it out on the people around us. And that is a tough thing to handle because you're handling all those issues and then you're dealing with the outside world, meaning anybody outside your head. So it could be your spouse, your kids, your pets, a neighbor. It could be people you work with, people you go to the gym with. And everybody thinks you're doing great. And then they don't understand when you're struggling and you're talking about it, because a lot of the things we deal with are not seen. The actual amputation, yes, is very visual. But I go to the gym and I look like I'm just fine. I'm like living life. The problem is they don't see maybe what pain I'm feeling inside and what it took for me to walk into the gym from my car that day. And that can then trigger emotions that are harder to deal with. And it might be anger, frustration, fear, whatever. So we need a place to go. And we don't always have the people that are like us, other amputees, that we can talk to and vent to. 9 times out of 10, I see people that try to do that on social media, and there's some smart ass comment that says, suck it up, this is life, which is not helpful whatsoever, but it can put people in check. Now, I bring this up because people say they've lost friends over this. And it comes down to the fact of it is now time to flip the coin. So I talked about the amputee side, but now talking about the receiving side, my spouse, my kids, my neighbors, my good friends. I make a conscious effort not to regurgitate negativity all over the people I'm around. Good friends that know me and understand me stay with me. They ask me how I'm doing. They ask if things are going as well. And you know what? I know who I can actually approach with an issue. Maybe my husband doesn't need to hear any more about it, but I have a good friend who goes through her own medical issues that is a great person to speak to. And they get me, they understand me, but I'm not sitting there being negative Nelly about it either. I'm mad, I might be frustrated, or I'm just stuck in a rut where I can't get rid of the pain. Yes, I will talk about that. But I'm not going to go, this sucks. I can't believe I did this. Da, 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 da. Of course this would happen to me. No one wants to hear a pity party. No one wants to hear woe is me, because we need to, as amputees, remember that we are going through our thing while the world is going through what they go through. And our amputation isn't the only thing that we go through either. I'm not one dimensional. Sometimes I'm upset about the way something happened with a family member. Sometimes I'm sad because I miss my mom, who's been gone since my amputation. Sometimes, there's other things. My amputation does not define me, and it is definitely not the only thing that can trigger me into a bad mood, a sad mood, or fear or anxiety. Likewise, when we sit there and we just spew our stuff and our baggage on people around us, we can push them to a limit where they're like, I can't even handle my own stuff. And you're pushing me through this again. Yes, we know you've been through it. And you have to ask yourself, are you a broken record when you get around the people who care about you? because even the people who care about you struggle with being able to be surrounded by that. So, what I always tend to think about is, am I the kind of person that people want to be around? Because the only kind of people I like to be around are positive people. Because positive people bring and generate positivity to a relationship, a situation, whatever. But I don't hang around with people that are two-leg, that sit there and talk blah, blah, blah about their life, because I'm sitting in my head going, really, trust me, I understand. You have your issues, I have mine, but I'm not talking about it. So this is why I said it's a fine line. We do, as amputees, just like any human being, we need someone that we trust, we can confide in, and that is there for us in times of need, in sorrow, in fear, in anger, in frustration, in pain. But they shouldn't be only there for that. They should be there for times to celebrate. You should be there celebrating their wins, their victories, their joys, their concerns. You should be there for them to be a shoulder, or you to be a shoulder for them to cry on. It needs to be reciprocated. It can't be all take, 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 because what ends up happening is you deplete that friendship of the love it started with. And it doesn't matter if you went through amputation of all your limbs, one limb, or you're just maybe sick, or you are struggling with another issue. It goes both ways. I cannot keep harping on my husband the day-to-days and the minutia of being an amputee. He sees it, he understands it. And if I'm having a bad day where I know it might affect my relationship with him and the way I respond to him and the way maybe I don't have dinner ready when he gets home, then I let him know, listen, today is not a good day for me. I am struggling with X, Y, Z. I want you to know, in fairness to you, that I'm not fun to be around. Or I've been crying all day because I can't figure out how to get through this. And you leave it at that and let them have a warning shot. You know, I mean, God, give them a warning shot. Let them know what they're walking into when they get home from work. Or when you get to the office, no one in your office wants to sit there and listen to all the bad things going on in your life, because there are good things too to talk about. And guess what? When you go down a path of only negative and negative things and negative vibes and negative energy and negative words and go that route, no one's going to want to be with you, and you're going to feel all of a sudden very alone in the world. Everyone has a problem. Some talk about it, some don't. Some over talk about it, and some actually decide to flip the switch and find the positive in the crap. That's where you need to be. So if you're an amputee and you're struggling, it's okay to find someone that you can lean on. Just remember, don't always go to that person when you're struggling. Go to them to celebrate what they've gone through. Celebrate their birthday, if that's the least you can do. But celebrate them. Bring them a coffee for all those times they've listened to you. Let them know you see them for the shoulder they have been for you in the hard times. And likewise, if you are the person that's hearing all of this, remember, as an amputee, every day for us is extremely different. Like, I don't have 2 days that are the same. The way my socket fits, the way my nerves are pissed off, what I choose to do that day, activity level wise, determines on how I feel by the nighttime. I can get today, for some reason, out of the blue, and maybe it's because we had rain last night, I'm wearing a raw spot in the back of my leg. I didn't have one the last few weeks, but now I have one, and it's the same socket. So if you aren't an amputee, but your amputee friend is always coming to you with things, understand that every day that person wakes up, it's a loss still to them. It's a tragedy for them. For some people, there's a lot of PTSD because of how they lost it. But you can also be honest. If you're a good friend, instead of dumping someone that you can't stand anymore with that, maybe let them know, hey, let's start seeing the positive in our situations and make it an us thing, because your friend's probably going through something too. And you know what I found? I just met with one of my great friends that we've been friends since I got injured. She got injured, and she is still dealing with a plethora of other things. And I just listened to her while I ate my lunch. She talked. She had the whole floor to herself. I had food in my mouth, so I wasn't going to interrupt, which is a great thing. And she got to talk about everything that's been going on in her life. And then we try to make jokes. I try to lighten the mood. I'll make a joke. Only us, right? Only we would get this, that an x-ray machine would look like this or whatever. And then she gets to enjoy her food. And then it's my turn to talk about what's going on in my life, the ups, the downs, what we've been through. But quite frankly, even with the bad back I had for the last week and it laid me up, the positives that I found coming from that were astronomical. And the fact that I had more time with my dogs before my journey out to Boston, and I enjoyed that. The fact that I cooked all day yesterday for all of my kids, so everyone had meal prep, whether they lived under this roof or not, they had meal prep for this week. And I just enjoyed the time of being home and contained here and just doing the things here that need to be done, because when I get back to the gym and I get back to my horses, then life takes off, and the next thing I know, it's the end of the day and I'm dealing with dinner. So, we just talk about it all. Be honest with the people you're with, but that fine line you need to walk. Are you reciprocating, or are you a garbage dump of disposal of, or disposing of garbage on everybody around you? And that is the reason why people are walking away, because you're not seeing them for who they are, and that they probably have things they're dealing with too. Even though they have all their arms and all their legs, they might be dealing with something. And did you even notice their demeanor? Because you got with them and you stole the show. So you need to check yourself. But this amputees, you guys probably know this. You understand what the plight, and you probably, if you're really gut checking yourself, you probably know why some people have left your side. And it maybe just, it was a weak relationship to begin with, and maybe they just don't tolerate that kind of negativity, or they just don't have time anymore for you. People are in your life for a season and a reason. And if they've gone, they're not the reason for this area of your life, and you will find somebody else that is a great partner in dealing with your trauma. Just remember that they have theirs too. And so that fine line that we walk, if you're not an amputee, this really goes out to you. Please understand that we struggle every day, and we may be healed, but it doesn't matter, because the struggles don't come from the incision as much as the walking, or the amount of exercise it takes to move the leg, or the amount of stability you have to build, yada, yada, yada. We have so many other aspects of being an amputee. Some people do really well with it. They rock it and they are off and running. And there are a lot more, I think, than not, that really struggle with their fit. They struggle with getting active again. A lot of people I know have been inactive for so long that they're no longer in shape. They've gained weight. They don't really like themselves anymore. And then you have to add on something that looks funny and different. And some people don't like that attention drawn to them. So then it makes it very hard to wear the prosthesis. I mean, there's just so many things. So I guess call to action this week. As I'm looking at my timer, I'm almost 19 minutes. We're doing good. Keeping you guys in mind, try to listen to the end. But call to action this week, I think, on both sides of the coin. Amputees, this is to you. Your call to action is this week, find the positive. When you are with people and you're surrounding yourself with a friend or friend group, you're going out to dinner with people, you're hanging at the office, or you're at your home with your family, try to be in a positive mindset. You're going to have to learn to flip the switch. And like any habits, a good habit takes weeks to build, and a bad habit takes weeks to break down. If you are constantly, I can't, this sucks, I hate this, I wish I'd never done this, I wish this hadn't happened to me, whatever it is, those negative comments don't belong in your life for your health and the health of relationships around you. They don't belong there. Get rid of the negative, even if you're feeling it. Like I said, I'm not 100% positive, but I would say I'm 90%, 99% positive throughout the week. And then anything with my leg, it might be 0.5%, and the rest is just emotional garbage. The normal stuff that as a woman I go through. I don't like my body right now. I'm disappointed I didn't get to the gym, but I also don't drone on about that because it does nobody good. So if you're an amputee, start finding the positives in your life. If you're struggling with that, then you better dig deeper, because you, believe it or not, as a warrior, have a lot of positives to think about and a lot of positives to nurture. And your family should be one of the positives. So if you love them, let them see you be positive, even despite the struggles. That doesn't mean they go away, but you might be surprised that you might find a mindset changes the way you see outcomes happening. And when you start to visualize the future, visualize positively. And then when you get together with people, make sure you ask how they're doing. I like to start out by letting my friends talk. So that is something I try to do whenever I sit down with them. How are you doing? How are things going with your family? How is so and so with the surgery? How are you doing with your injury? I know my friends. I know them well enough to know what's important to them. And I ask them to talk about what's important to them. And you know what? Not only does it show that I care and I know them, it also allows me to show that I am capable of looking past me to them. And they then feel seen and they are fulfilled when they leave. And then they want to have a coffee with me again, or see me again, or talk on the phone again, because it isn't about me, 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 me. I want to fill their buckets because they fill me. And so giving is so much more rewarding than taking. I don't want to drain my friends. I don't want to take away their joy in life. So I want to hear about them and how I can help them. And that in turn then makes me feel better, and it fills me up because I see that it makes a difference in their life. So that's for my amputees. Start being the positive and start flipping the narrative so that you're not a victim of what happened, but you're a warrior of what happened. And you're going to show the world how strong you really are despite the circumstances. Now, if you aren't an amputee, but you have a friend that is an amputee, or even someone that talks a lot about their negatives, this is when you try to find out what is really at the root of their complaint, and understanding as an amputee, for an amputee's sake, that every day that we wake up, we don't know what it's going to be like. One day I woke up and my back started hurting, and it took me out of the game for a week. And it sucks. I could barely reach my good foot's shoe and sock. I mean, I struggled bending over. And so I had to make adjustments. Putting my leg on hurt a lot. So if you know an amputee and you are struggling with why they're so negative, just talk them through that, and also be honest with them. Listen, I know it's got to be tough. I can't even begin to imagine. Validate that you can't put yourself in their shoes, but let them know that you understand that it's a struggle and you're there for them. But it's really hard. You have to understand the game that they're going to be playing, and you need to also, for your own health and benefit, if it's just somebody that's kind of narcissistic and they only think negatively, you got to question the relationship, right? If they don't ask about what you're going through because they're so wrapped up in their own life, and you can get together with them and they talk all about me, 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 and then they, oh, I got to go. You're not getting what you need as a friend for that person. And sometimes you just need to be honest. You know, you need to say, I'm not being heard. I feel undervalued here in this relationship. I want to be there for you, but I just can't do this. You know, did you know that I was going through X, Y, and Z? So I guess if you're not an amputee, your call to action is, if you are friends with an amputee, is just try to understand that it isn't a one and done. We don't just have the amputation and then we're good to go and we're scooting off and doing our life. We struggle every day, and it is a struggle every day. So as I see this, we're wrapping this up. I hope that this brought some value to both sides of the coin, and I hope you'll try to do the call to action, especially if you're an amputee. As always, I love having you guys on here. I hope you'll share and like my podcast, whether it's on YouTube, my channel, or any podcast streaming platform. But warriors, rise up. You are stronger and more beautiful than you know. Don't ever forget that. Don't let anybody else tell you less. You deserve the best and speak positive into your life. And as always, be healthy, be happy, be you.